This episode of Harvey Brownstone Interviews is brought to you by the Harvey Brownstone Talk Show Blend Coffee, available at hollywoodblends.com. Everyone's saying it's the best coffee they've ever tasted. Why not give it a try and see for yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Harvey Brownstone, and today's special guest is a renowned and beloved multi-award-winning actor whose exceptional body of work includes many iconic performances. On the big screen, you've seen him in dozens of movies, including Mr. Saturday Night, Hacks, Quicksand, The Station Agent, A Serious Man, The Producers, For Your Consideration, Argo, Tankhouse, and Wolves, to name just a few. And on television, he's best remembered for playing Paul Lassiter in Spin City, Joey Rathburn in Luck, Sam Meyers in Red Oaks, Aubrey James in Gotham, Cousin Andy in Curb Your Enthusiasm, Captain Stan Yenko in East New York, and of course, Dr. Mark Devanow on Mad About You, for which he was nominated for a Screen Actors Guild Award. He's won many prestigious awards for his work in Andover, Augie, A Serious Man, Hudson Falls, Detours, and Yes, We Cannabis. He's also highly acclaimed for his voice work in iconic animated shows like Tom and Jerry the movie, A Bug's Life, Garfield the movie, Toy Story 3, Cars 1 and 2, Tom Sawyer, Inside Out, Big Mouth, An American Dad, and so much more. And on Broadway, our guest has appeared in numerous shows, including The Tale of the Allergist's Wife, The Producers, Sly Fox, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, Kiss Me Kate, and The Big Knife, for which he won a Drama Desk Award and was nominated for a Tony Award and an Outer Critics Circle Award for Best Featured Actor in a Play. And from December 11th to January 12th, he'll be starring on Broadway in Simon Rich's brilliant play, All In, Comedy About Love. I'm delighted and honored to welcome the incomparable Richard Kind to our show. Richard, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. And it's very interesting how you mentioned my credits, because I know I have a lot of them, a lot. Some of the things that you mentioned, I don't even remember doing. So you said Quicksand. I don't know what Quicksand is. These are things I am not necessarily proud of. They happen to be things that I've done because I'm an actor. You work. You say, yeah, something gets offered to you. You need to make money. You need to work. So you work. I know where you got all the information. There's a list of 300 or so titles. I'm telling you, I don't remember some of the things you said. And you said multi-award winner, but that is not how I see my career.
So how do you see your career?
I see my career as points where I've been very happy with what I have, with some of the projects I've worked on that bookend an actor's life. And that's what I've done. You can't say you're proud of everything. I saw a play recently with 7 of the most gifted actors I've ever seen or been lucky enough to have worked with and or known. And it was the worst play I've ever seen. It was dreadful, horrible. I'm not going to mention who and what. And you go, what play did they read that they said yes to? Because a play takes time. It takes a month of rehearsals, and then you have at least a 3-month run. Some of these things, they said, would you do this? It took a day. And I went and did it. I made some money, and it will never get seen again.
Well, let me ask you this, Richard. I know your father was a jeweler, your mother was an art teacher, and then a homemaker. They wanted you to take over your father's business. So how did your parents react when you told them you were going to pursue a career in show business?
My parents were liberal people in that anything you want, dear, anything that will make you happy with your work, we're not going to force you into anything. And then they sort of just thought, okay, he'll come to his senses. I've told this story before. In fact, a week ago today, he passed away at age 94. The man who was one of my dad's best friends, we were watching football on a Sunday afternoon, and I was supposed to go to law school. And he said, try acting for a year, because when you're 40, you're going to resent your wife and children that you couldn't do what you wanted to do. So at an early age, I deferred law school and I went and I acted. My father used to ask teachers or directors literally these words: does he have it? Has he got it? Can he be a success? Is he good? Not sitting there watching and go, oh my gosh, my son's really good. He would ask others who might have had the name judge in front of them, you're a learned man. Is he any good? He wouldn't say to himself. So I think he just got used to it. The only time he ever thought I was any good was when he saw me play Tevye in Summerstock, so in Fiddler. So he never really thought I was good. And he even lived through, through Mad About You. And I think I think he was Spin City, because he's been gone a while now, because he died fairly early, at like 67 years. So he saw me reach success, but he was never sure of it. And he thought it's a phase. And I think that he was happy that I was doing it. And you know what? Also, in retrospect, before he passed away, he sold the store. He didn't like the way the jewelry business was going. He didn't like, and this is a precursor to what we're seeing now, that large chains were popping up. I'm not going to name names because they're all very good, but rather than a nice jewelry store where you trusted the owner, where you could go in and talk to him and you're not talking to a big businessman, that was good. That's what the jewelry business should have been. His competition was Tiffany and Cartier's, because he was in Princeton. So they're very wealthy people in Princeton. They would go up and they would talk to him, and everything that they could get at Tiffany and Cartier's, my father had access to, and would go to the same suppliers and bring them in and sell it. So he thought that's the way that business should be run, especially jewelry. So this has nothing to do with acting. I think he ultimately was happy I didn't go into that business.
And I'm sure, Richard, that he knew you're really good. I don't see how he couldn't.
You're a very nice man. Yes, of course he did.
Of course he did. Now, you were at Second City in Chicago for 4.5 years, which certainly established you as a comedian. But your real dream was to be seen as an actor. So is that why you left Second City and went to LA?
When you do Second City, you're not a comedian. There is a difference between a comedian and an actor. I was a comic actor. A comedian stands up in front of a microphone and says funny words. Okay? A comic actor puts himself in a comic scene, in a comic situation, and either makes in a situation with Second City, in this comic scene, you make up words like we did in Curb Your Enthusiasm. But I have never done stand-up. I've never been a comedian. I am a funny actor, or an actor who can act funny and do funny things. But listen, I've been nominated for a Tony once, and this man was a horrible, vicious, awful, very unfunny man. He was, to be honest, I was playing a Hollywood producer, so you can imagine how vicious. But it's a Clifford Odets play. Clifford Odets never wrote a comedy in his life, and I was pretty good in the role. But I am an actor, and that is the reason why I left Second City. Is, when people stay on Saturday Night Live too long, we all notice it. We at home go, wow, you've been on for 11 years now. You get off. Let's see what else you can do. At Second City, I think your tenure should be around 3 to 4 years. You've done all you can. And it actually, I quit a year before. I said, I'm leaving. And I didn't leave till about 8 months later. I was very scared to go to LA. There's a lot of comfort at Second City. You get paid every week. You're working every night. It's a comfortable life. You're a big star in Chicago. You're not a big star anywhere else, but you're well respected in Chicago. So, but an actor should move ahead, like a shark. If a shark stays still, he dies. If an actor stays still, he dies. Too much comfort is bad for an actor.
Well, you're commonly referred to as a character actor, probably because you're known for playing unusual or eccentric, often very funny characters, often in supporting roles, but you've shown
Yes.
tremendous versatility over the years, and you're not identified with any one role. That must be very liberating for you.
Oh, Harvey, I wish I could tell you what a wonderful statement you just said. Because when I was a kid, the TV that I was watching was Batman with Adam West and All in the Family with Carol O'Connor. And every TV guide, which I read voraciously, said, I'm not just one character. I'm more than this. I'm not just Batman. Well, Adam, you're not. And Carol O'Connor, you are a magnificent actor. He was magnificent in the Irish Rep. He was magnificent in movies before he did Archie Bunker, and is a great actor after. But sorry, Carol, you're Archie Bunker. That's who you are. And I did not want that to be. So when I was doing Spin City, everyone said, and all the producers or the PR people said, oh, you're going to be the breakout character. And I said, I don't want to be the breakout character. I don't want to be remembered for only being Paul Lassiter. I want to go do many, many things. Now, it takes a while to do many, many things, but now you say, I've done many, many things. So that is very heartening. And that's a great, great compliment, what you just said. That means a lot to me.
Well, I'm very gratified because it's the truth. Now, the first time I ever saw you, Richard, was on TV in the early 90s on Carol Burnett's TV show, Carol and Company. But I've heard you say that job did nothing for your career. How can that be when you were working with the legendary Carol Burnett?
Okay, I'm only going to answer this with opinion. This is not fact. This is not anything. Carol Burnett made her mark doing the show that we all know, the Carol Burnett Show. She then, and then she left TV for a couple of years, came back with a show that was different than her variety show, very different. It was an anthology. We did sort of Twilight Zone for comedy. Every week was different. It was just different genre, different everything. Nobody watched it. It's Saturday night, I think 9:30. I don't know what time it was on, 9:30. It was not her variety show. I was not Tim Conway or Harvey Korman. It was a different show. It was not, let me put it this way. It was very successful. We did the right things. She had some friends, and I'll name them, Julie Andrews and Burt Reynolds, who were friends with her and had never done a TV show, said, what are you doing? Why are you wasting your time doing this anthology? No, nobody's seeing it. Nobody's watching it. Go do what you do. So she took that off the air, and she went and changed networks and did the variety show again, which was a flat out disaster. We were trying to be Harvey Korman and Tim Conway. We flat out that was our goal. Let's relive the glory days. And we didn't. Well, I couldn't do that. I was affected by Harvey Korman. By the way, Harvey Korman was supposedly a great, great actor. He was very famous at the Goodman Theater in Chicago before he became famous for what he became famous for doing a great Richard III. Supposedly he played Hamlet. He was supposed to be a great, great actor. He's known for the Carol Burnett Show, but we were trying to copy that. There's no duplicating such greatness, especially when you're dealing with Carol Burnett. And the show did nothing. It did nothing. Yeah, it gave me some money. It gave me experience on TV. I learned how to handle a camera. And I got to learn from the best. And that doesn't just include Carol Burnett, who was, of course, the best. But I worked with some great, great actors. And you learn. Every job you learn. Even if it's a horrible experience, you learn.
Well, you certainly gained a lot of fans because I'm not the only one for whom you came to my attention at that time.
Oh, that's very nice.
I remember you saying once that Carol Burnett told you that you were born in the wrong era, that you should have been born during the time of vaudeville and burlesque. Do you agree with her?
I do. I'm best on stage. I'm best when I get to act silly and large, and the theater can handle that. A camera can't handle that as much. I get to do it a lot, and I ain't the most subtle of actors. And sometimes the camera can handle it, and sometimes the camera goes, "Whoa, whoa, enough, Richard, enough." So, but I would have been good. But flip side of that is today, instead of vaudeville, we have stand-up comics. I am not a stand-up comic. Would I have had a good act like Jack Benny, like George Burns? Would I have been one of those vaudeville or burlesque stars? I don't know. So I should have been, and maybe I would have aspired to that because there was no TV, and so acting was limited. The venues were limited. So maybe I would have. I wouldn't dare do stand-up. It's too terrifying. I'm not that funny. I am funny, but I can't write like these brilliant Seinfelds and Gaffigans and Stephen Wright. And there's so many great, funny men. I'm not that guy.
Well, I like you just the way you are.
Thank
Now, I've heard you say in other interviews that your portrayal of Paul Lassiter on Spin City was the perfect intersection of actor and character. But in real life, is Richard Kind anything like Paul Lassiter?
I wish. Look, I'm very versatile. Okay, you said it. Am I versatile? I'm really not. Here's the character. Here's Richard Kind. Where do they intersect? That's not how Daniel Day-Lewis works. Daniel Day-Lewis is an actor until you see. I don't know what Daniel Day-Lewis is like in real life. You don't know what Robert De Niro is like in real life. You see me right now. This is me. But then here's the character. Where do they intersect? That's the kind of actor I am. Now I'm not Henry Fonda, who was only Henry Fonda, or Jimmy Stewart. But all of my characters, my mouth works the way it works. It's just this is the energy I have.
Well, I think it's because you intuit the role in a way that you would play it if that was you.
That is correct. That's absolutely right, Harvey. I think that's right. If I go too far, like in the play that I'm doing, I have to do an English accent. Okay, in one of the pieces I'm doing, I play the doctor from The Elephant Man. Very high, very elevated, very like that. My English accent is terrible, but it's okay for this piece. You know what I mean? I'm indicated. I'm not playing the doctor. Yeah, we're not doing Elephant Man. I'm playing the doctor who's an Elephant Man. So I can get away with it. But if I were to do the Elephant Man, I would only do it at a small venue so I could stretch my acting. But if there were economic consequences to it, don't hire me. I'm not that guy. I can't do it.
Well, I want to mention another doctor you played. In 2016, you starred in a movie called The Lennon Report, which tells the true story of the people who tried to save John Lennon after he was shot. You played Dr. Stephen Lynn, the emergency physician at the hospital. I would imagine that was a very emotional experience for you making that movie.
That is where I got to stretch, and where the director and the producers took a chance and said, yep, this guy's a good enough actor to play this. That was the most unfunny character you could ever get. So, did you see the movie?
Very much so, and I loved it.
Isn't it a wonderful movie? Very small, didn't get a lot of attention, but it was pretty terrific. Very, very, very proud of that movie. Very proud of that performance. I was given a chance. On film, when there are economic consequences, they don't always give me a chance. Does that make sense?
Well, it does make sense. I'm thinking of another example, the Coen brothers in A Serious Man. That movie got 2 Oscar nominations, won a whole slew of awards.
Yeah.
And what fascinates me is that the Coen brothers are known, they're renowned for knowing exactly what they want when they're filming a scene. I'm wondering what's that like to work with people that just know exactly what they want.
They do. They know exactly. It's as if it's all been edited and they know exactly what the movie looks like before they even start shooting. And they are, first of all, what a thrill to work with them. What a thrill to be in that movie, which I think is a masterpiece. And that's a movie that, although highly regarded, is not seen as much as their other movies, but very, very highly regarded. They do know exactly what they want. And it was my honor to be exactly what they wanted. I knew that character. I knew it. And that character is not just dramatic and everything. There's humor and pathos to that character. I think that's, if you want to know, that's what I do best. I take a character that is in the area code of comic, even in a serious situation, and can bring comedy and dramatic pathos to it. And
You know why I think you do that?
No.
I think there's something wounded about you. You convey this wounded nature, even in your comedy. And with Uncle Arthur, which was not a funny role.
Right. Oh, he was wounded.
You're so wounded. But even when you're being funny, you can feel this wounded nature, this vulnerability that you have, that you mesh with the comedy, that's very appealing.
I'm glad. I hope you didn't put the kibosh on me. So now when I'm doing comedy, I go, wait, am I vulnerable enough? Am I wounded? Oh my God, do I have it? I don't know. That's one man's opinion, and I will honor that. I don't know whether it's entirely right, but I honor it. So there you go.
And what about Clint Eastwood in Hereafter? Not one of his best movies, but everybody that's been on my show tells me that he always says the same thing. Can you do it faster?
Oh, is that true?
Yeah, they always say that was really great, but can you just do it a bit faster?
That's hilarious because it really happened. You know that story about me?
Oh, it happened with you?
I'm telling you. Oh, it's the funniest story in the world. Okay. First of all, not a great movie, but the first 20 minutes, the scene with the tsunami and then my scene with Matt Damon are fantastic. Mine is like a little O. Henry story. It's got a great setup, everything like that. It's acted very well, and then it has a great twist. And then the rest of the movie starts, and it's not very good. I hope that he doesn't hear this, but it's not very good. And written by a great, great author, a screenwriter. Okay, here's what happened. In the scene, I'm confessing something. I don't confess anything. Matt Damon, who sees the future, can see into someone's eyes, can see what's going on in my mind, that I was in love with a woman. Never told anybody about it. Never told anyone. And Matt Damon sees it. So they come down, and my wife has died, and I keep this a very deep, deep, dark secret. Somebody comes down and says, "Hey, what was going on?" And I go, this, and I go, I can't tell. And he goes, so I finally decide to unleash this very deep, dark secret that Matt Damon just said he knows because he's a mind reader. Clint comes down, he goes, it's great, just do it faster, like you say. I go, Clint, I'm not this kind of actor, but this is a very, very deep secret. Somebody asked me what it is. I've got to think, wow, do I tell this man? This is something I wouldn't just spurt out. This is very dark. Clint Eastwood goes, yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah, just do it faster. That's what it was. Just do it faster.
That's just hilarious. Tell me, when you made The Angriest Man in Brooklyn, did you get to know Robin Williams at all?
I did. I knew Robin beforehand. I had been to parties with him. He liked me. Where I first met him, he used to come to Second City when he was in Chicago, or there was a Second City in LA. And so I've improvised with him a few times. I'm a good improviser. He's great. But I was good. I held my own with him. He liked me. He liked me as a person. He thought my talent was good. Here I am, one day, working with Robin Williams. In retrospect, this is all armchair quarterbacking, and that I see in retrospect, he did not have the energy that I was used to. He was not the gregarious guy on set. Was it the nature of the movie, the nature of the character? I don't know. But I was getting more laughs with the crew than he was. And I remember at one moment, he woke up and did entertain the crew just for 50 seconds. He was Robin Williams that we all know. And then he came back again. Then in the van ride, he wasn't as vociferous as he usually is. And so I started talking to him about the TV show that he was about to do. And I started talking about, are you ready to do a TV show and be the center? Which he really, although he was in Mork and Mindy, he really wasn't. So he had never really done TV like that. I started talking about him. He was subdued. It's the only word I'll say, subdued. Then he did the TV show and he died soon after. In retrospect, that's what I saw. I cannot say that I saw it that day, no. But in retrospect, I go, that explains a lot. And I did get to know him. I did know him a little bit. And I had friends who really knew him and loved him. Bonnie Hunt really knew him and loved him very, very much. So I was very lucky. But you say the word Angriest Man in Brooklyn, which was not a big hit, although it was directed by one of the most genius writers and directors that Hollywood has ever put out, Phil Alden Robinson. He is magnificent. He's magnificent.
Another one from 2019, I thought was very interesting that you did The Social Ones, which explores the lives or the anxieties of a group of social media influencers. What do you think of social media?
Oh, right. I didn't know what The Social Ones was. Did you see that movie?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I thought that it was a very allegorical and metaphorical story about what social media does to people.
It was very early on, and I did not know what social media really was. It was an early thing, and I'm going to admit something to you. I didn't know what the movie was about. I had no idea what I was doing. I saw these scenes. I knew that I was playing I want to say Steve Jobs, but that's not really right. I think even though he wasn't famous at the time, Elon Musk might have been a better name to compare him to. But I played a nut, a weirdo, a savant. I didn't know what the hell I was talking about when I was doing that movie. But I didn't have to. I could play nuts. I'm a nut in a basement is what I was. And so that's what I played. I didn't understand the script. And when I saw the movie, which I never see my own movies, but the producer, who's a wonderful woman, is a friend. I did her a favor, and it played at a film festival. So I helped her. I came to the festival. I made an appearance, and I had to watch the movie. I usually don't watch my own movies. I don't like to see it. I liked me in the movie. I thought it was funny. I thought I did what I had to do. I didn't understand the movie when I saw it. I didn't understand the script. I didn't understand the movie. But I did understand my role in the movie. And that was very important. But the words that he had to say, I just had to justify that these words would come out of my mouth. But I'm playing a genius. I'm not a genius. Richard Kind is not a genius. But I guess I could pretend that I'm a genius, which is what an actor does. So I played pretend, and I was a genius.
Well, the movie definitely strikes a chord. It was ahead of its time, that's for sure. What about when you had to play Rudy Giuliani in Bombshell?
Oh,
how did you prepare for that role?
I will tell you, I loved Rudy Giuliani when he was mayor. I thought he was the greatest. When we did the movie, he wasn't who he is now, and I do not respect him now. But I respected him as mayor. I did not want to make fun of him, but I am not good with voices, as evidenced in the play I'm doing now. I can do an English accent. I'm not really doing an English accent. John Lithgow, who I was acting across from, later on did Rudy Giuliani on the Stephen Colbert Show and did a much better Rudy Giuliani than I did. But when I listened to him and I heard speeches, I said, this guy talks like Rod Steiger. So I can't do Rod Steiger, but I could do the essence of Rod Steiger, and I made that the essence of Rudy Giuliani's talking. But I just acted the scene. But I got to act with a few people in the scene who are people who I know. I've acted with one a lot. And I was so honored to be friends with them and their superior, John Lithgow, Connie Britton, who I did 4 years of Spin City with, and Allison Janney, who was a friend I had never acted. And here I am acting in a scene with them. Crazy. And you don't really know it's me. I wouldn't look at that movie and say, oh, that's Richard Kind. I look like Rudy Giuliani, so much so that the woman who designed the makeup won an Academy Award. That's how good. I laugh and say, everybody remembers me. They remember the makeup. I looked like Rudy Giuliani. I was good. I was fine. But the makeup made my performance.
It's very fascinating that you intuited Rod Steiger. I'm going to go back and watch that performance now and see if I can detect that.
He talks like this. He's very clipped. And it could be his teeth. I don't know what it is. But Steiger, he always talks like this. Burt Lancaster does the same thing. But that's Giuliani. He was a New Yorker. He talks very clipped. So that's what I did.
And what about working with Woody Allen in Rifkin's Festival? What was it like working with him?
I loved it. Boy, I wish the world was smarter and not petty and could see through everything. I'm talking politically. I believe that everything that he's been condemned for did not happen. That's me. I have my reasons for thinking that, but I won't go into it unless you want to. But he was great. We did a scene. Most of the people in the movie are foreigners, except for Gina Gershon and Wally Shawn. And we're all at this dinner table it was a cast scene. Most of the cast was in the scene. And Woody came out of what's called the Video Village, which is a little area where you're watching the screen, and it's covered by a curtain, and then you come out and then you talk to the actors. So he goes back, he's watching, and he came out, and he goes, "Oh, that was great, funny," like that, and then goes back in. Everybody at the table goes, "Oh my God, he never laughs. He never comes out smiling like that. It's fantastic." Now, I was doing, and then he once said, "God, I don't think he would have spoken to any other actor this way, but he knew me. He knew my comedy." And there was one line he goes, don't hit it so hard. I was hitting a joke. I was playing a joke. And it's a funny line, but I played the joke, and I was mortified. Not that I had done it, that I was amateur enough to have hit the joke when I know the right way to play it. I knew exactly what he meant. I knew exactly, the minute he said it, I knew what he was talking about, but I didn't catch myself doing it. But he was very, very nice to me. I was lucky enough to have lunch in his hotel room with about 10 other people, sitting around and seeing him and seeing his utter adoration of his wife. Adoring. So,
why would you ever be embarrassed to take direction? I mean, that's what directors do, and that's what you deliver.
And I am a real director's actor. You tell me you want, I'm doing A, tell me you want B, I go there. It's because I was embarrassed that he had to tell me that this is when the minute he said, I go, "Of course, I'm sorry, of course, I know what you're saying." And he knew that I knew. So all he said was, "Just don't hit it so hard." And I went, "Oh, of course." It's just something that he and I, with our Jewish New York humor, knew. Instead of saying, "This is how the line should go." No, I don't. I was going to use something, but instead of "take my wife, please," it's "take my wife, please." That's the difference. Like, I know how he wanted. He didn't want the take my wife, please. He wanted take my wife, please. You know, it's just it's subtle, but I knew what he wanted.
I got to tell you, in 2009, you performed at the Kennedy Center Honors tribute to Mel Brooks. You performed a fantastic rendition of The Inquisition from History of the World Part 1. Such a memorable performance. And then last year, you appeared in the wonderful TV miniseries History of the World Part 2, starring Mel Brooks. You played St. Peter. What was it like working with him?
Two things. Let's go back to the Kennedy Center. One of the most thrilling times of my life. That is a thrill that's easy to pull up on YouTube. I encourage the listeners to watch it because Susan Stroman directed it. I'm really funny. It's bizarrely great. I loved it. And then they pan across and there's Obama and Springsteen. And you just go, oh my God, look where I am. That is the stuff that you lie in bed when you're a child and you say, oh, please, let me be a star. Let me shine. Let me play for these luminaries. And I did. And I was good. I can't believe my life sometimes. That's one of those moments. Now, Mel Brooks. Raised on Mel Brooks. I am who I am because of Mel Brooks. There's some others, but Mel Brooks helped make me who I am. As a person and as an actor and as an appreciator of comedy. I saw Mel Brooks. I'm eating dinner at Cipriani, at Harry's over on 60th and 5th Avenue. He happened to be there with his son. This is years ago. You'll know how long ago. And it's like unbelievable. I didn't know him. He's leaving the thing, and I run after him, and I said, excuse me, sir, I understand you're making a musical of The Producers. Please don't let it fuck. Please don't let it be a piece of shit, because that movie is seminal in my life. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. I go, please make it great. Please don't screw it up. He didn't. It was brilliant. I then I then auditioned for him to do The Producers on Broadway. I didn't get it, but I got the national tour. I said no to the national tour because I had children at home. I'm not going to do a tour while I have children. So I turned it down. That was, let's say, December. The following July, I did a play at a theater in Sag Harbor, New York, that I happened to be on the board of. And I played it was a Tom Stoppard play, English again, but a large character. And I played a producer in that show. That's what it is. It takes place in the early 1900s, but I played an English producer, blah, blah, blah. Mel Brooks and Anne Bancroft happened to see it because they had a place in the Hamptons. They came to see the show. They never come backstage. They did. They come backstage. Anne especially liked me, Anne Bancroft. She liked me. Whenever I did The Producers, she was the one she appreciated me, and she appreciated me in this show. And then Mel came up and said, you're going to do The Producers. You're going to be on Broadway. You're going to do it. The following December, I did do it. And I did it for quite a few months. I then did it later on, a few years later, at the Hollywood Bowl. Mel liked my Max. He liked it very much. Of course, he loves, and rightly so, loves Nathan's. Nathan created the role. It would not be what it is unless Nathan did it. But Nathan, who I adore, you can watch him, one of those guys who read the phone book. He's the best. But we were really, really different. And I wanted to do the show because Nathan put his own signature on it very much. And he Nathan is too much Nathan. He was more, I always say he was more like Jackie Gleason doing the role. I was Zero Mostel. I was more Zero Mostel. And I was dirty. I was filthy. I hate to say I was really Jewy, but that's what Bialystok was. So I really liked the challenge of doing the role, and made it a point not to do Nathan, because Nathan, nobody does Nathan. He's too good. So that's what I did. I'm sure they went to Nathan first to do it. The Hollywood Bowl, he couldn't do it probably. So they asked me to do it. And Mel used to come out, and when the show was over, goes, "Oh, this is great. This is great." He looked up at the Hollywood Bowl, 18,000 people. "How about this?" And he used to go, "Wasn't he terrific?" About me. And I always thought that there was a cartoon bubble over his head. Wasn't he great? He's not Nathan, but wasn't he great? And so I knew that he liked me. He mentioned me in his autobiography. There's a paragraph or two about my performance at the Hollywood Bowl. Cut to history of the world. And doing anything associated with Mel Brooks and that genius, I love it. I've never worked with Mel, and not on History of the World. I only worked with Nick Kroll and the other people. So even though you see all those people, you show up. If it's a 30-day shoot, I'm there 2 or 3 days. Mel is only there 2 or 3 days, and they're not the days I shoot. So people think, "Oh, what was it like to work with?" I never met him once on that shoot. So what was it like to work with him? He wasn't there.
But I do love the fact that you have been very strongly connected with him, that he does know your work, and you did get to honor him at the Kennedy Center.
Easy.
Mind you, I have to say that a few years ago, you returned to the Kennedy Center to honor George Clooney. I know you've been friends with George Clooney forever. He was the best man at your wedding. You worked together a number of times, most notably in Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. You even made a TV.
That's really not most. Remember, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. I think I had one line, and I think I improvised it. I was a judge on the Gong Show or something, and I just didn't. I was there for 2 hours.
Well, what about the Bennett brothers? That was a TV pilot.
Well, that's a different kettle of fish. The Bennett brothers is sort of legendary because it was George doing a pilot with me. You sort of go, how did Richard Kind and George Clooney become friends? In much the way you say, how did Marlon Brando and Wally Cox become friends? They were roommates in New York. We happened to do a pilot together. We then had a very close friendship and continue to have a close friendship with all of our friends. And he sort of has an entourage. That's not, but a group of guys that are a posse. And we're sort of known for, he's known for his loyalty to his friends and his goodness. And we love him and he loves us. Believe me, it's a two-way street. Although he is the maypole of it all because he's the center and the most famous, we all lend ourselves and bring great things to the friendship, along with our love for him, our love for each other, and his love and how he counts on all of us. But we really have not worked together. I haven't acted with him.
Well, you think you will in the future? It could happen.
Well, of course it could happen. I've never once asked him. People would say, "Why weren't you in that movie? Good night and good luck. Why weren't you in that?" Because there was no part for me. If there's a part, he'll hire me. But there was no part. And would I ever dare ask him to hire me?
You wouldn't have to.
Yes.
If there was a part that was right for you, you wouldn't have to ask him. He would know.
Let's say I want to do something. I'll give you, let me just, I'll tell you this. And this is something I do announce. Mother Teresa could have a script and say, "Please, could you give this to George?" And I easily say, no. It doesn't matter if you're Mother Teresa. I never never talk business or expect to have anything like that with George. He's my friend. And I never expected. Could it happen? Of course it could. If there's something, but he would have to have the what do you call it?
He would have to initiate it.
He would initiate it, and he would have to have the faith that, oh, Richard Kind is right for this part. Not my friend Richard Kind is right for this part. It's the actor Richard Kind is right for this.
No, I totally get that, because I don't think that mixing friendship with business is a smart idea. And I don't think that you'd ever want to be perceived as utilizing the friendship in that way. And quite frankly, you don't have to.
I will tell you this. When I did work for him, in another one of the prouder scenes of my life, the movie Argo, he produced it. I never saw him on set. And to be honest, it was his company that produced it. And one of the guys in our group, one of his best friends, his business partner, but one of my best friends, who I've known for now, 35 years, is Grant Heslop, who is one of the great producers, and helped George write Good Night and Good Luck, and helped. But anyway, he didn't write Argo, but he was a producer on it. I got to be in an Academy Award-winning movie.
That was pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
That was really pretty cool. Now, Curb Your Enthusiasm, you play Cousin Andy. I've heard Larry David say that at the beginning, initially, he didn't think you were right for the role because he thought you were too famous.
That's what he thought. Jeff Garlin thinks that story is not right, but that's what it was. At the time, I've told this story before, so if anybody's listening, and I'm repeating myself, all of the actors that he had who were famous played themselves on the show. They were known as Ted Danson. Ted Danson plays himself. All these famous people play themselves. The only one that didn't happen was Ed Asner, because Ed Asner dies in the particular episode, and he didn't want people to think that Ed Asner died. So Ed Asner played a part, even though he was extremely famous. He thought I was extremely famous. He was wrong. And Jeff, said, no, Richard's really good for this. Larry hemmed and hawed. And I guess they saw some people, and then he finally capitulated and said, sure, okay, let's use Richard. And I got it. Yeah.
It was very, very entertaining.
It's great.
You've done a lot of very successful work on stage, in movies, on television. You've done incredibly successful voice work, especially Inside Out, which I just loved. Mm-hmm. And I'm just wondering, when you do theater, Richard, do those performances become a part of you in a way that doesn't happen when you do movies and TV shows?
A good way to put it. Yes. First of all, I'm a creature of the theater. I like doing theater more than TV, more than film. Sometimes you are not allowed to do what you want to do on TV and film. So I go to the theater so that I can do the serious stuff. You say that I'm always comic, that you even said you're a comedian, but I'm not. Let's talk about economic consequences. If you do a movie or a TV show, there are stockholders who are counting on you being successful, and I better deliver, because if I don't, money is lost. There are economic consequences. In theater, there are not as many consequences. You do a show at a small theater, I'm going to bring people in. I'm more famous than other people they can get. So right then and there, they're not taking a chance on me. I'm a guarantee. Oh, I'm a name. People know his face. They might not everybody knows my name, but they know my face. Oh, let's use him as a way to get people into the theater. So I'm a plus. That's the first thing. Then let's take a chance on him. Let's offer him this role. He wants to do something that's serious. Let's offer him this, and he'll take it. Or let's offer him a really good role. It's an easy gamble. TV and film, not so much. When you do a play, you rehearse it for 2.5 to 4 weeks. It gets in your bones. If you do a TV show or a movie, you go to set, you rehearse for, if you're lucky, 10 to 20 minutes. If you're lucky, it's not in your bones. The scene is not in your bones. And the minute it's finished, it's over. You've done it. And a week, 2 weeks, a month later, you go, oh, why didn't I do this? Because you can't. You've got a few hours to do it. In theater, you rehearse, then you come home. Oh, wait, I could try this. Let me try this tomorrow. For a month, you do that. Then let's say the run is 3 months to a year. Every night you go home. Oh, let me try this. Let me become better. How can I become better? I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. That's very satisfying. So TV and film become very frustrating in that you were not allowed to ruminate. You weren't allowed to rehearse. I like rehearsal. I like rehearsal more than doing the performance. I love rehearsal. Let's go and have fun. Let's try it this way. Let's do this. That doesn't mean that you're not as devoted or invested in what you're doing. It's just you're trying something different. Some days it works. Some days it doesn't. Some days it informs something that your old decision may have had and you didn't realize it. But you're not going to do it this way. It's a lot of fun.
And yet, you're mentioning big names. I mean, look at Bounce. You've got Stephen Sondheim. You've got Hal Prince. I believe you co-starred with Jane Powell.
Jane Powell.
And it just didn't work.
Yes, it did. I believe it did. I believe it could work. I have my visions of how it could work. I will tell you this, and I'm speaking ill of a great talent, but ill of the dead. And you just mentioned her name. Jane Powell is great. But Jane Powell is a diminutive 4'10" woman with a gorgeous voice if she's got a microphone. But when you're playing to a 1,000-seat house, she was old. I think she was 80. She didn't have the energy to go to the back of the house. And therefore, the bottom dropped out while she was on stage. If you were doing a movie, it would have been great. You would have been right there. They would have captured it. But in the theater, she didn't have it. You needed a bigger, younger person playing older. And she didn't have to, it didn't need to be that much older. In fact, it shouldn't have been that much older. We were in our 20s. She was 80-something. It shouldn't have been. She was miscast. You should have taken a younger woman. Okay, maybe I was 40 at the time. So she should have been 60. But she should not have been 80. And I'm not saying it's her fault. It's too easy to blame somebody. But all those scenes dropped, and they were it's a thinking man's musical, as is most of Sondheim's stuff. And that's what happened. But it is now. I told the playwright, John Weidman, I had an idea for how to change the show a little bit. Didn't take a lot. The first act should just be done with bentwood chairs. There should be no scenery. Second act should be done with glorious scenery. That's how different the two acts are. And John liked that. I went and told Sondheim when Roadshow was being done, and which they had changed a lot, and it was being done at the public. And I said, maybe we should do it this way. And Sondheim was like, no, it's good the way it is. It can be a successful show. I believe if I could direct it, I could make it successful. I know where the excitement of that. It's a fantastic story. It's fantastic.
Would you ever want to do it, to direct Bounce?
You know what? I've never wanted to direct in my life because I'm afraid I give line readings, but I know how I could direct that. Because Sondheim, when he wrote it, said he wanted to write a Hope and Crosby movie. And, a musical that's like a Hope and Crosby, like The Road to Rio. That's what this is. And it's like a comedy vaudeville. And it was directed as this. But it could be it could be like that. It takes place in heaven. The first scene takes place in heaven where the two brothers meet each other. Well, it's a vaudeville. And it's a great song. You come a long way. We've been through a lot. We've learned how to balance. It's a very vaudevillian thing. And I think it couldn't be more vaudevillian.
That's really fascinating. So
Yeah,
tell me, Richard, are you amazed that Joanne Woodward hired you to basically play Harry Cohn
yeah,
in The Big Knife, given that at that time, I believe you were best known for your character on Spin City,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, I laughingly say that. I when I got up there, I asked her. I said, do you know who I am? Have you ever seen Spin City?" And she goes, "No." And I go, "Great, let's do this." So she had no idea what an idiot I could be on Spin City and how stupid I could be and silly, and therefore I could invest myself in this role. And she knew Harry Cohn. I mean, she knew this guy, and the best thing was we she was great. You know, I'm a big actor and everything like that. She's the one who had me just sit in the chair. I have about a 3.5 page monologue and telling a story, and I wanted to get up. I'm going to do this, that. She goes, "No, just sit in the chair," and it was great. She was great. And then I don't like to do plays twice. There are a couple of plays I would like to do now. I'd like to do again, but I don't like to do plays twice. And then Doug Hughes and Bobby Cannavale we're going to do it at the roundabout. And they asked would I like to do it again. I said no. And then Bobby, who's a really good friend, begged me, and I said, "All right, I'll do it." And Doug had seen me do it, and I was good. But I'm glad that Joanne Woodward had never seen me do it.
But just think, you got a Tony nomination for the most uncharacteristic Richard Kind performance I can think of. This ruthless, abusive, really
Horrible.
monstrous
It was a monster.
studio executive.
Yeah,
I believe it was Harry Cohn. I could be wrong, but that's who I
it
felt
was
were playing.
very fun. Did you see? You didn't see it, did you?
I saw it in 2013, Mr. Richard
You
Kind.
saw that.
Yes, I did. And
Why would you see that? Were you living in Toronto at the time?
I was living in Toronto, but I always go to New York to see shows. I've been a fan of yours for years, and I was fascinated that you would be attracted to that role. I had to see it for myself.
Well, now you see. Oh, and you know who really liked me, and I was really happy. Clifford Odets' son. He didn't like our production as much, but he used to tell me he just thought I was terrific, and that made me happy. That made me very happy.
As it should. Now you're opening on Broadway next week in a play called All In, comedy about love. It has a rotating cast because you're famous for not wanting to play long runs, right?
I do. I don't like long runs. Yeah.
What can you tell us about this new show?
Oh, it's this is wonderful. First of all, do you know who Simon Rich is?
Yeah, he's the playwright.
Yes, but have you ever read his stuff?
What else has he written?
He's written about 10 books. He used to be the head writer on Saturday Night Live. He's done a couple of TV shows, one of which I was in playing. I played God. He wrote the role. He's a very, very great writer, specific writer, funny, smart, does not kowtow to any audience, can be dark and yet can be filled with love, which is what this is. He unfortunately has the moniker of being Frank Rich's son, which is a wonderful thing, but you know, a lot of instead of saying, "Oh, he did this, he wrote this, he did this," it's easier to say he's Frank Rich's son because Frank Rich is famous, you know, for being a drama critic in the New York Times and a columnist in the New York Times. Also worked on TV shows, but Simon is a great writer. He's written a series. He's written books. He says 10 books. I've only read 2 of them. I didn't know he wrote that many. But he's also a contributor to the New Yorker of a lot of shouts and murmurs. And he used to write essays and columns and things like that. Very funny man, in much the way that Woody Allen writes for the New Yorker and writes these short stories. And what we are doing is reading some of these short stories. We just sit in a chair and we read them. There are what's the word when it's not just us sitting in chairs. The scenery is great. There's theatrical things being done. There's a band. There are 2 singers, and they sing songs about love. And it's a show. It's called All In, a play about love, as if we're all in. And they're just funny ruminations of his about love. And that's what it is.
Well, I wish you the best of luck with the show.
A
I
wonderful.
have to say, when I look at your career, you have been working almost nonstop for 45 years. Do you ever take any time off?
I don't take time off. It is imposed. Time off is imposed. I like working. Remember, I had a teacher who said that when you go and you take a part, you pretend that you are that character. You pretend you're that man. Not you pretend the character. You pretend you're that man. You go and you play pretend. Well, children in the playground play pretend. Now, what is the worst thing, especially a man of my age? What do I want to do? I want to be young again. That's what I want. I want to be young again. Well, when I'm an actor, I'm young all the time because I play pretend. That's what I do. Now, sometimes these situations are not happy. You know, you do Death of a Salesman, it's not the happiest thing, but I get to pretend that I'm Willie Loman. And sometimes it is the happiest thing. So I'm doing a comedy now. I'm playing pretend while doing funny things. Who wouldn't want to go to work? It's the greatest thing in the world.
It's just amazing. You know, your life has been so full of monumental events. Do you have any interest in writing a memoir? I mean, look at your life. Who else but you can say that at their very first audition, Jose Ferrer accompanied them on the piano singing one of Rosemary Clooney's songs? Who else but you?
I know, it's crazy.
Look at your life.
I've been approached. I got lots and lots of little stories. I don't want to write, I was born in Trenton, New Jersey, type of thing. I'd like to write these little episodes. That's what I'd like to do.
Please do it. Please. Well, I hope you do it. And I only have one more question for you, Mr. Richard Kind, who I absolutely adore.
Go ahead.
Okay. When you were at Northwestern University and you told one of your professors that you wanted to be an actor, he told you that actors had to be good looking because when people turn on their television, they want to look at faces that are handsome or beautiful.
No, I will. I'll tell you. There's three things. If you're asking like this, I had a high school teacher who said, "Don't be an actor because you're not telegenic. Okay, you're not good looking. That's what Hollywood wants." He's right.
Well, what about people like Humphrey Bogart and Jimmy Cagney and so many other great actors that weren't really matinee idols?
Classically matinee idols. Humphrey Bogart is a good example. Cagney, not so. Let's be realistic. If you are not, I was watching the news today. Okay, I'm watching. There was a woman who was what's the word? Is flousy. She had a very. She did not have a telegenic body. She was wearing a shirt that was not complimentary to her.
Were you saying she was frumpy?
Frumpy is a good word. That's a better word. And it was CNN, and they did not take the banner off of her so that they could hide her. Her face and her hair, beautiful, but she was frumpy and young enough so that she should not have been wearing this shirt. It was not a good look. Even the news. We know that Roger Ailes, famously from Bombshell, it's what people tune in to watch people who they'd like to look like. I'm not somebody who people would want to look like. I'm just saying it. To be realistic and harsh. That's what the world is. Would we like it to be different? Harvey, we'd love it to be different, but it's not.
Well, how did it feel to have a teacher tell you you're not good looking enough to be a star? And then look at the life you've had. Look at the success you've had. How does that feel?
Water off a duck's back. If I were to take it seriously, that means I'd go into an audition, wouldn't get the part, and I'd want to give up acting.
Well, where did you get that resilience from? Because I have to tell you, when I was in high school, if somebody had said that to me, I mean, it's crushing. And I will tell you that when I was a lawyer, and I was a damn good one, and I said I wanted to be a judge, and everybody said, but you're openly gay. You don't have a chance. No government's going to appoint you. It was crushing.
That's
Where did you get that resilience from that you said, oh, well, I'll keep going. I'll make it anyway.
Where did you get your humanity? Where did you get your empathy? Where did you get your brains? Where did you get the fact that, oh, I understand this, but there's this? Where did you get that?
That's not the same as the resilience that it takes to say, fuck them. I can do it better. There's lots of smart people that don't make it because they don't have that resilience. They can't handle the criticism and the rejection.
I don't know. Do we go back to the mother who used to kiss me on the forehead and just love me? I don't know. Or was it the mother who used to brag about, oh, I knew so-and-so and I wanted to be famous like so-and-so? And I don't know. Was it the grandparents used to take me to theater and used to tell me about theater, and I wanted to be Zero Mostel in Fiddler on the Roof? I don't know, but I loved Zero Mostel. That when I was a kid, that's who I loved. I loved Robert Preston and Zero Mostel.
Zero Mostel wasn't a matinee idol.
I know, therefore Richard Kind could be. I wanted to be Zero Mostel, so maybe I said, without even computing it in my head, the hell with you, Mr. Roach. And Mr. Roach, his name, by the way, was Roach, even though a guy who could say that could be such a cockroach. But he was a lovely man, a good director, very nurturing, but he was trying to protect me. You think it's cruel. He was trying to protect me. I acknowledged that, but then I kept going on at Northwestern doing plays. Applause was better than Mr. Roach. People coming up to me and going, "You're great. Oh my God, I loved you. You're wonderful. I got cast, and I wasn't even a theater major. I was pre-law, and I got cast." That had more of an effect than Mr. Roach did.
You know what would have, if that had happened to me, I would have thought of Margaret Hamilton playing the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz. She wasn't beautiful, and she got a great part.
Oh, right. You want to know something? I meet young actors, and they're so handsome. And I say jokingly, I go, "Oh my God, thank God I don't look like you. I wouldn't have a career." I say that to them.
But there's truth in that.
There is. Thank God I look like this. Thank God.
Well, thank God you have the talent you have. Thank you for all the entertainment you've brought us, all the joy. I am wonderful. Absolutely.
You're a nurturing interviewer. You make me want to tell the truth a lot. You're very nice.
Well, I really appreciate that. I thank you so much for taking the time to do our show. I know you're busy preparing to open on Broadway next week. I cannot thank you enough, Richard, for coming on our show.
Thank you, Harvey. Thank you so much.
Our guest has been the amazing Richard Kind, who can be seen on Broadway in a limited engagement in Simon Rich's play, All In, Comedy About Love, at the Hudson Theater from December 11th, 2024 to January 12th, 2025. Tickets are available on the show's official website, allinbroadway.com. My name is Harvey Brownstone. Thank you all for joining us. See you next time. Thank you to my producer, Steve Silver, my managers, Rick Marcelli and Robin Bragg Marcelli at the Marcelli Company in Hollywood, my director of programming, Robert Monaghan, my PR directors, Eileen Shapiro and Jimmy Starr, and my entire team at the XPTV1 network in the UK.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out all the great interviews on the Harvey Brownstone Interviews YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified when new videos are posted.